Good evening, everyone. This is a prize giving unlike any we have done before. I would like to welcome our board chair, Ms. Mariette Savoie, invited speaker, 2008 alumna, Ms. Aliyah Had, and most importantly, our 2019-2020 prize winners. This evening, we recognize and celebrate the hard work, effort, and achievement of the students who were in Year 7 to IB1 last year. 131 students are being celebrated tonight. In Years 9 to 11, 16 for Principal's Honors, 26 for Honors, and 108 for Responsibility for Learning. This is our chance to say well done and congratulations. This last year has certainly been the most challenging of my career, and for you, students and parents watching this later, I know it has not been easy either. Everyone had to adapt, adjust, and go with the flow. It was easier some days than others, but ultimately, here we stand, healthy and grateful that we are able to celebrate the achievements of our students. We are also incredibly grateful that we are here inside our new Innovation Center. In the 7 weeks since the school year started, this building has changed the learning experience at BHS, and we are so excited to officially open the building next weekend. Every day at BHS, we work hard to live our vision and our mission and provide the best learning experience to empower our students to become confident, resilient, and responsible global citizens. We take great pride at BHS in developing each girl's unique passions and talents. We work hard to provide an environment where our students feel safe to take center stage, define their own path, overcome obstacles, and celebrate their achievements. When we look back at the 2019-2020 school year, so much has happened, and I want to share a few highlights with you. In spite of the challenges caused by the pandemic, in the academic arena, we had excellent IB and IGCSE results. 28 of our 29 graduates sat the full IB diploma program. 96% got the full diploma and were awarded an average diploma score of 33 points. Our top IB score was 42 points out of 45, which was achieved by Erin Jones, who is heading to the University of Cambridge, UK. Close behind with 40 points was Adriana Birchall, who's studying at St. John's University, USA, and Natalie Calderon, who is studying at the University College London. All of the IB students who wish to attend university or college this year are enrolled in tertiary institutions of their choice in the USA, Canada, and the UK. 97% of all IGCSE grades received by the BHS students this year were A* to C, or the equivalent. The percentage of A* and A grades, or levels 9 through 7, awarded to BHS girls was 55%, well above the 27% achieved by students in the UK. I am proud of all of our IGCSE students, as many of them prove their ability to surpass our expectations. I would like to specifically congratulate and highlight the top 3 students: Christy Sanchez, 12 A stars, 5 at level 9, Soleil Stange, 11 A stars, 4 at level 9, and Tana Vandenberg Tejador, 10 A stars, 6 at level 9. In the debate arena, our BHS middle school and secondary teams performed well at the 2019 National Interschool Debate Competition. BHS had a clean sweep victory and runner-up placement for the middle school team and a runner-up placement for the senior school team. The school year was filled with athletic successes in both team and individual events. Out of the inter-school competitions that were held prior to the pandemic, the BHS middle school team won first place in the volleyball tournament and runners-up in the netball. Our senior school team won the basketball league and were runners-up in swimming and volleyball. 2 BHS students were nominated for the Denton Hurdle Memorial Trophy. Paisley Garside for the middle school division, and Rhiannon Higgins for the senior division. Last year, over 60 secondary students performed an outstanding musical production of The Little Mermaid in the QEH. In the visual arts, so many of our students shared their talents and won many awards in the community, and many passed with merit and distinction in the ABRSM theory and practical music exams, which were performed and also performed in the community and at the school winter concert. As a school last year, we raised over $12,000 for global and local charities through a variety of fundraising initiatives. 28 of our alumni received close to $800,000 in scholarships. This week alone, we have highlighted numerous alumni for their successes, and this is one of the benefits of a BHS education. No matter where our girls look, they see role models in every endeavor. In school, they see girls in all the leadership positions as team captains, artists, musicians, volunteers, and in our graduates, they see women taking on jobs in government, in the private sector, earning scholarships to prestigious universities, and managing their own businesses. This inspires them to dream big and fulfill their potential, and our dedicated teachers are there to support them in everything they do. Students, during this year, you have demonstrated your grit and resilience and risen above it all during challenging times. The pandemic, shelter in place, canceled inter-school competitions, international exams, to name a few. I want to share this poem with you entitled "What Sets Winners Apart" by Nancy Sims. What sets winners apart? You take chances like everyone else. You don't fear failing, but you refuse to let fear control you. You don't give up. When life gets rough, you hang in until the going gets better. You are flexible. You realize that there is more than one way and are willing to try others. You know that you're not perfect. You respect your weaknesses while making the most of your strengths. You fall but don't stay down. You refuse to let a fall keep you from climbing. You don't blame fate for your failures, nor luck for your successes. You accept responsibility for your lives. You are positive thinkers who see good in all things. From the ordinary, you make the extraordinary. You believe in the path that you have chosen, even when it's hard, even when others can't see where you're going. You are patient. You know a goal is only as worthy as the effort that's required to achieve it. You make this world a better place to be. At BHS, we have a learning community which empowers girls. Each and every one of you has worked hard, put in the practice, stayed up late to finish work, and kept your goals in sight. We want you to own your talents and your success, now and in the future. You've worked hard during the 2019-2020 academic year and are shining examples of the advantages of the well-rounded education that we provide at BHS. We are delighted to celebrate your academic, artistic, and athletic successes tonight. Congratulations. As your head of school, I am so very proud of all of you. Welcome everyone to this memorable celebration.
Aaliyah Hod is a BHS Old Girl and former head girl from the graduating class of 2008. She is a public policy expert with experience living and working in Bermuda, Toronto, Paris, Rabat, Washington, D.C., Oxford, London, and Brussels, where she currently resides. Ms. Ahad was recently appointed as the Government of Bermuda's representative in Brussels. Ms. Ahad holds a Master of Science in Migration Studies and a Master of Public Policy with distinction from the University of Oxford, where she studied as a Rhodes Scholar. She also holds an Honors Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science and Sociology from the University of Toronto, with high distinction. Ms. Ahad also spent a year studying of Sciences Po Paris, where she received an exchange program certificate, cum laude.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much to Mrs. Parker for the invitation to deliver this video message. I wish I could be there in person, but I'm grateful to be able to participate all the way from Brussels, Belgium. On this occasion of your prize giving, I'd like to start by congratulating all of the students for your hard work over the last year. And I'd also like to congratulate all of the adults in your life, parents, teachers, and other BHS staff, for all of your work behind the scenes to make this year a success. Whether you received a prize or not, you should be proud of getting through what can only be described as one of the most challenging years in our lifetimes, hopefully. I must admit that I was even nervous about accepting the invitation to speak with you in light of how difficult this year has been. We're in the middle of a deadly pandemic that has robbed some of us of loved ones, impacted livelihoods and financial stability of those near to us, and also made the natural human response to crisis, which is coming together, the very thing that can harm us. COVID-19 has also laid bare, in spectacular fashion, the structural inequalities and racism that have led to disproportionate infection and mortality rates among Black and brown people, of older people, of poorer people. And on top of the health emergency, systemic racism and discrimination, there's also an existential climate crisis, with more and more active storm season, as we've experienced in Bermuda, and more devastating wildfires, among many other things. It's a lot, and I know that it can feel overwhelming, but the reason that I wanted to give this video message and engage with you is because your generation actually fills me with so much inspiration and hope for the future. Around the world, you and your peers are on the front lines fighting for justice, for equality, and demanding action. You're informed, you know how to organize, and you see the cracks in the status quo, which is often unfairly stacked in favor of the few and not the many. If you only take one thing away from my interventions today, I hope it is this: you are powerful. You are so powerful. And it's up to you to decide how to use that power. But the illusion of neutrality is a privilege that this world can no longer afford. Inaction is also a decision. And if there's one thing that we've seen from 2020, it's that actions and inactions have serious consequences. Amidst the turbulence of the world around us, I take great comfort in the fact that there are oases like BHS brimming with brilliant, creative, passionate young women like yourselves. I'm really happy to see some of the changes that BHS has implemented over the last years, such as investing in STEAM, in the new Innovation Center, and even expanding the number of leadership positions. When I was at BHS, I had the honor of being head girl, but as I understand it now, there are lots of different school leaders, and honestly, there are so many deserving people. I think it's a really great start. There's also a school mascot now, which is new to me, and I'm very happy that it's a fire-breathing dragon and not a white lily. I think more broadly, there's a lot of positive critical reflection on the history and mission of the school and the words and iconography associated with it. BHS, of course, started as an all-white school in 1894. And it blows my mind to think that when my mother was your age, Bermuda still had a racially segregated school system. She attended school at Southampton Glebe, now Dalton E. Tucker, and at the Berkeley Institute. When she was your age, she probably never would have dreamed she'd have two daughters who would go to become student leaders at BHS, or to be invited, as I am now, to speak at your prize giving. My family story with BHS started in 1997. My older sister, Aziza, was the first one to attend. I didn't start some 4 years later, in 2001. But in 1997, my incredibly brilliant sister took and passed the admission test to get into year 9. But when my Muslim mother asked the headmistress if my sister could wear a headscarf as part of her uniform, she refused. Eventually, a few calls to the Bermuda Human Rights Commission later, the school eventually relented and my sister was allowed to attend. And because she and my mother had already fought that battle, I didn't have to. When I started in year 7, 4 years later, it went without saying that I could also attend and wear a headscarf. That what was in my head was more important than what was on it. But isn't it amazing how individual actions and individual courage can open the door and pave the way for countless others? Instead of wearing shorts during PE, I wore long pants. My classmates, at least at first, would often ask me, "Aren't you hot with all those clothes?" And though my classmates' frequent concern for my temperature did get annoying sometimes, I don't think it was ever malicious or ill-willed. I was really, for most of them, the only Muslim girl that they had ever met, that they'd ever spoken to. And compared to everyone else, my dress code was a little bit strange. I stood out. I looked hot, and not in the good way. But I always felt accepted, I always felt supported, and I always felt at home at BHS. And these questions of acceptance and belonging, who belongs, why, what should be allowed or restricted, celebrated or tolerated, these are the questions that I started to explore during my time at BHS and have actually shaped a lot of my work still today. During the IB program, as you probably already know, you can choose which subject to do your extended essay in. Although I'm not a native speaker, I chose to do my extended essay in French on the riots in 2005 in France. You might not remember it now, but it was a big deal at the time. There were, days, if not weeks, of protests, riots, cars set on fire, and it was all sparked by the death of 2 teenagers of African and North African descent in Parisian banlieue. So I wanted to learn more. I wanted to investigate how this tragedy set off such a powder keg of unrest and to what extent the riots reflected the failure of French policies to integrate people with immigrant backgrounds. I won't go into the details, but I will tell you that it was not a walk in the park. At that point, my French was pretty good, but researching and writing a 4,000-word essay was a lot. And this was before the days of Google Translate. I sat at my computer with a physical French to English dictionary and somehow managed to pull it off. In the process, I discovered 2 things. There was this whole new subject area known as migration studies, and 2, the value of speaking another language. When I graduated from BHS, I went to the University of Toronto in Canada and did a double major in sociology and political science. At that point, I was also able to take more courses on migration and in French. My obsession with both led me to do a year abroad at the Institute of Political Science in Paris, also known as Sciences Po. These 2 experiences at the University of Toronto and at Sciences Po, they all kind of felt like big round square conferences, which I had the privilege to attend with BHS in 2005 in Melbourne, Australia. I was so lucky to have met all of these very interesting people with new perspectives from just about every corner of the world that I could mention. When I finished university, I moved back to Bermuda and got a job with the Bermuda government in their Cabinet Office internship program. I rotated around from the Cabinet Office to the Bermuda Human Rights Commission, to the Ombudsman's Office and the Legal Aid Office. Somewhere along the way, I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. Well, at least that I wanted to study law. And this was because I'd had such a crisis when I graduated from undergrad with this double major in political science and sociology, and realized that though I had a lot of skills, I wasn't particularly qualified to do anything. And so I reasoned that at least if I had a law degree, I would be qualified to do law. But the universe had other plans. I applied to several law programs in the UK and was accepted to all of them, except for the one at the University of Oxford. Normally that wouldn't be a problem, but I'd just gotten a scholarship to study at the University of Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. So I had a choice, give up the scholarship and pursue this pragmatic law degree, or put my faith in the universe, pursue my passion and go to Oxford. I chose the latter. With the 2 years of funding under the Rhodes Scholarship, I did a Master's of Science in Migration Studies and a Master in Public Policy. Finally, it felt like my interests had converged. As I said before, I wanted to understand who belongs and who doesn't, what should be restricted or accepted, and who decides. My 2 years at Oxford were 2 of the most significant ones in my life so far. And that's not to say that they were entirely pleasant or comfortable. I think Oxford, steeped as it is in British Empire and colonialism, can be a difficult place for many students of colour. Some of my peers even experienced overt racism from professors and from university staff. But if given the choice, I would definitely choose to do it again in a heartbeat. I had the pleasure of meeting some of the most impressive, just wonderful people that I've ever met, many of whom have already gone on to become thought leaders in their fields and do extraordinary things. Believe me when I say that I had the worst case of imposter syndrome. Who was I? Just some girl from a small island in the middle of the Atlantic. At first, I was a little bit afraid to speak up, not wanting to say something stupid, lest I out myself as someone who didn't belong and shouldn't be there. But slowly, I learned that I was not the only one who felt this way. The same very impressive people who have gone on to become thought leaders in their fields and do extraordinary things were feeling the same, and we bonded over this. Eventually, I was able to hit my stride, taking up different leadership positions, and finished one degree after another, even managing to graduate with distinction. When I finished at Oxford, I did a short stint working in London, and eventually moved to Brussels, Belgium, where I am today, where I'm transmitting this video message from. I'd never even been to Brussels before I moved here with all of my stuff. But during my master's, I did an internship in Washington, D.C., and ended up getting a job with the same organization in their Brussels office. And so, that's it. That's how it is that for the last 4 years I've been working in Brussels for a policy think tank doing research and analysis on migration policy. I've had so many awesome experiences working with and advising policymakers in the European Union, in different national governments, and a range of other stakeholders on some of the biggest issues facing Europe, whether that's Brexit and citizens' rights, the EU's multi-annual budget, cooperation with foreign countries, and much, much more. I'm so pleased and so honored to be able to take these experiences and dedicate them in the service of my biggest passion and interest, which is Bermuda. Next week, I will actually start a new position as the Bermuda government's representative in Brussels. As the only Bermudian that most people have ever met, I've already been an unofficial Bermudian ambassador in Brussels, but I'm very excited to advance Bermuda's interests on the European stage in a more formal way. I wish so much that I could see your faces to make sure I haven't bored you to tears with my life story. But based on all of these experiences that I've raced through over the last minutes, I wanted to leave you with 2 ideas that have been really important to me over the years. The first I already alluded to, but you are not an imposter. Self-doubt grips the best of us, trust me. But reassure yourselves that by the time you leave BHS, you will have received one of the best educations in the world. Not the best education in Bermuda, not the best education for girls, but one of the best educations, period. And I guarantee you, if and when you go to university and you meet others who've done the IB program and you start talking about your points, you will have comparable, if not higher, scores. So please don't doubt yourselves. You deserve to be in the room, you deserve to be at the table, and you deserve to have a voice. Just make sure that, as my mom and my sister did for me when I came to BHS, make sure that you keep opening the door a little wider for all of the girls and women who will come after you. The second point is to find and feed your passions. You may find that when you ask your teacher a question, they'll say something like, "Don't worry about it, it's not on the test." And that may sound like a relief. But what is and is not on the test should never be the metric by which you decide what is valuable to know. For me, in high school, migration and public policy were never on the test. So I put it there. I gave myself the challenge of writing a 4,000-word extended essay in another language just so I could learn more about these topics. I never would have thought that one day I'd end up studying and working on migration policy and live in two French-speaking cities, Paris and Brussels. I never would have dreamed that by moving to Belgium 4 years ago, I would actually put myself in a position to become the Bermuda government's representative here. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to go deeper. Feed your interests. It just might end up being one of your careers. As Steve Jobs, one of the founders of Apple, said, you can only connect the dots in your life looking backwards. So take risks, try new things, fail. Have faith in yourself and your journey that these experiences aren't for nothing. If you can fail at doing what you don't want, you might as well take a chance at doing what you love. That's all from me. I can't wait to see what's next for you. And I encourage anyone who wants to get in touch. I'm sure Mrs. Parker would be more than happy to share my email address. But I'd just like to once again wish you a huge congratulations on this year and best of luck with the year ahead. Thank you.
Ms. Ahad, thank you for giving us your time and sharing with us such a thoughtful speech. Your empowering advice about being confident when we show up, as well as all that we can accomplish as women, is very inspiring and encouraging. Although we may not have been able to meet you in person, I trust that your speech reached many. So again, thank you.
It gives me great pleasure to start the prize giving process. So you know what is ahead. Each subject is awarded 2 prizes for each year group. One for attainment, awarded to the student who gains the highest overall percentage for the year, and the other is for demonstrating commitment and passion towards the subject. In the students' envelopes are summaries written by their teachers of why each student is receiving the award. Years 7 and 8 also receive responsibility for learning, as we recognise their commitment to their learning ethos, being communicative, resourceful, reflective, and having a great work ethic. Year 9, 10 and 11 also receive responsibility for learning, as well as honours, which is for high attainment and averages across all subjects.
I'm very pleased and proud to be asked to read these, girls, because you were all an absolute joy to work with last year. So we have Alina De Filler, Responsibility for Learning. Alyssa Mnushkin, Responsibility for Learning. Arnica Henderson, Responsibility for Learning, and the Commitment Prize for English Literature and the Commitment Prize for Music. Arima Turner, Responsibility for Learning. Ava Pedro, Responsibility for Learning. Carmela Easton, Responsibility for Learning. Chelsea Dapont, the Mathematics Prize for Commitment. Darren Fox, the Humanities Prize for Commitment. talk slowly. Amelia Dunkley, Responsibility for Learning, Commitment Prize for Humanities, the Attainment Prize for Physical Education. Georgia Balanti, Responsibility for Learning, and the Spanish Prize for Attainment. Giselle Ballardo, Responsibility for Learning. Hattie Flynn, Responsibility for Learning. Izzy Welch, Responsibility for Learning, and slow down, Commitment Prize for Drama and Commitment Prize for Science. Izzy Johnston, Responsibility for Learning and Commitment for English Language and Attainment for both Computer Science and Drama. Jasmine Granger, Responsibility for Learning and Attainment Prizes for Science and Humanities. Jazzy Mary's, Responsibility for Learning. Georgia White, Responsibility for Learning and the Commitment Prize for Physical Education and the Attainment Prize for French. Kalia Walker, the Music Prize for Attainment. Good girl. Kayla Calverley, Responsibility for Learning. Laura Burnett, Responsibility for Learning. Leona Young, Responsibility for Learning and the Commitment Prizes for both Art and Spanish. Liv Sharrett, Responsibility for Learning. Raina Abbott, Responsibility for Learning. Robin Selly, Responsibility for Learning. Sage Benavides, Responsibility for Learning. Scarlett Smale, Responsibility for Learning and the Art Prize for Attainment. Tessa Kearns, Responsibility for Learning and the English Prize for Attainment. Tharusha Amarasinghe, Responsibility for Learning, as well as the Mathematics Prize for Attainment. Zuri Douglas, the French Prize for Commitment. And Brooke Castry is awarded Responsibility for Learning and also the Jane Davis Award for Citizenship. And the award for the student with the highest overall attainment in Year 7 goes to Jasmine Granger.
Addie Thorpe, Responsibility for Learning, and the Spanish Prize for Commitment. And Camille Hasiza, Responsibility for Learning. Caitlin Niemeyer, Responsibility for Learning. Katrina Furtado, the Mathematics Prize for Commitment. Celia Shaper, Responsibility for Learning, and the Mathematics Prize for Attainment. Charlotte Esperon, Responsibility for Learning. Charlotte Lesage, Responsibility for Learning. Charlotte Millington, Responsibility for Learning, and the Latin Commitment Prize, the Geography and Spanish Attainment Prizes. Lizzie Wire, Responsibility for Learning, and the Music Prize for Attainment. Ella Field Lament, Responsibility for Learning, and the Drama Prize for Attainment. Ella Uni, Responsibility for Learning. Elise Dye, Responsibility for Learning. Nell Whiteman, Responsibility for Learning, and the Geography Prize for Commitment. Grace Amaradasa, Responsibility for Learning, and the Computer Science Prize for Attainment. Hannah Taylor, Responsibility for Learning, and the Commitment Prizes for Drama, History, and Music. Jeriel Fernandez, Responsibility for Learning, and the Latin Prize for Attainment. Lorraine Cock, Responsibility for Learning, Commitment Prizes for English Literature, PE, and French, and the Attainment Prize for Science. Madeline Doyle, Responsibility for Learning. Mia Ortola Madden, Responsibility for Learning. Moya Van Niekerk, Responsibility for Learning, the Commitment Prize for Art, and the Attainment Prize for French. Natalia Tafour, Responsibility for Learning, and the History Prize for Attainment. Robin Kelly, Responsibility for Learning. Sarah Marshall, Responsibility for Learning, and the Computer Science Prize for Commitment. Sofia Nunez, Responsibility for Learning, and the English Language Prize for Commitment. Sophie Yumi Ruja, Responsibility for Learning, and the English Prize for Attainment. Varshini Srinivasan, Responsibility for Learning, and the Science Prize for Commitment. Vikashni Raghunathan, Responsibility for Learning. And finally, for Year 8, we have the Year 8 Special Prize. This award goes for the student attaining the highest overall attainment in Year 8, and it goes to Ella Uni. Well done.
Abby Adams, Responsibility for Learning. Amira Gilbert, Responsibility for Learning, Honors. Emily Kemp, Commitment, Science and Drama. Bethany Coos, Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honors, Commitment, Enterprise, Attainment, History, Math, English, and French. Eliana Kirkos, Responsibility for Learning, Honors, Commitment, History, Spanish, Attainment, Drama. Gabrielle Tukiaro, Responsibility for Learning, Honors, English Pliers for Attainment. Grace McFadden, Responsibilities for Learning, Principal Honors, Commitment, English Literature, Attainment, History. Hannah Stockley, Responsibility for Learning. Imani Bell, Responsibility for Learning, Honors. Indigo Adamson, Responsibility for Learning, Commitment, Art Prize. Kate Marcotte, Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honors, Commitment, Music, Attainment, Maths. Liliana Hughes, Responsibility for Learning, Honors. Lily Corns, Responsibility for Learning, Honors, Commitment, Geography, Latin, Attainment, Spanish, and Art. Olivia Porter, Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honors, Attainment, Latin, and Science. Paisley Garside, Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honors, Attainment, Enterprise, and Geography. Sarah Lawrence, Responsibility for Learning, Commitment, Physical Education. Saria Robinson, Commitment, Mathematics Prize. Sienna Mehta, Honors. Sienna Minishkin, Responsibility for Learning. Sophie Scrum, Honors, Attainment for Music Prize, and also the Lehman Plaque. Willow Hartman, Honors.
The award for the student gaining the highest overall attainment in Year 9 goes to Paisley Garside. Hannah Stockley is presented the Gordon Cup for Drama for going above and beyond the expectations both in and out of the classroom and in the school production. Grace McFadden collects the Middle School Award for Debate. Gabrielle Tusciaro is presented with the Whitney Green Plate for the application she shows to her learning. In her citation in her envelope, it finishes with, "She's definitely a role model for the She Leads within BHS." Well done. Lily Corns. Lily receives the Susie Esquith Martin Memorial Award for Humanity. She is confident in doing the right thing and is always encouraging others to do the same. Lily is always pleasant and is willing to assist her peers with difficult situations, knowing that it will create a more positive atmosphere. Lily's compassion for others is uplifting and exactly what the community at BHS aspires to. Our final award for Year 9 goes to Olivia Porter. Olivia will receive the BHS Alumni Association Noble Award that is given to students who exemplify a BHS philosophy. Olivia is a conscientious and positive student. She brings to life the phrase, "You reap what you sow," and constantly demonstrates what a commitment to learning through hard work and reflection and produces outstanding results. Olivia supports the school community with her behind-the-scenes work as editor for the Written Flame. Olivia should be commended on her continued dedication to improving herself and her community.
Laura Hutman receives Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honours, Commitment Prize for English Literature, and the Attainment Prize for Maths, Physics, Chemistry, and Economics. Millie Lewis receives Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honours, the Commitment Prize for Chemistry and Economics, the Attainment Prize for Biology, Art, the Tilson Cup for Geography Attainment, and Millie also jointly receives the award for the highest overall attainment in Year 10. Zarina Anderson receives Responsibility for Learning and the Beryl Brown Cup for Art Commitment. Anna Marcotte receives Responsibility for Learning and Principal Honours. Ava Adams receives Responsibility for Learning. Ava Gibson receives Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honours, Commitment Prize for Geography, the Attainment Prize for English, French and Latin, and the Kim Meacham Prize for Economics Attainment. Ava Rossa receives Responsibility for Learning and the Mathematics Prize for Commitment. Katerina Garza receives the Business Prize for Commitment. Cheyenne Tavares receives Responsibility for Learning, Honours, and the Drama Prize for Commitment. Emily Davis receives Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honours, the Marsden Hurst Cup for English Commitment, the Latin Prize for Commitment, and the Vera Winter Prize for History Attainment. Erin Kelly receives Responsibility for Learning, Honours, and the Commitment Prize for PE and Physics. Gabriela Quincerera receives Responsibility for Learning, Honours, and the Spanish Prize for Attainment. Marley Spriggs receives Responsibility for Learning, Honours, and the French Prize for Commitment. Najee Reyna receives Responsibility for Learning, Honours, and the Spanish Prize for Commitment. Natalie Gazard receives Responsibility for Learning and the Mathematics Prize for Commitment. Samai Dan receives Responsibility for Learning and the Mandy Wong Trophy for Business Studies Attainment. Santasia Roy receives Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honours, and the Biology Prize for Commitment. Sierra D'Souza receives Responsibility for Learning and the Turney Cup for Music Commitment. Sydney DuPont receives Responsibility for Learning and Honours. Zanaya Khan receives Responsibility for Learning. And the award for the student attaining the highest overall attainment in Year 10 goes to Ava Gibson. And Santasia Roy receives the Elizabeth Vieira Cup for the level of application and progress in her learning. We hope she is as proud of herself as we are.
Alex Clare, Mathematics Prize for Commitment. Amelia Othman, Responsibility for Learning. Angelina Chandrasekharan, Responsibility for Learning and the PE Prize for Commitment. Ariane Ward, Responsibility for Learning and the Commitment Prizes for Drama and Physics. Ashley Morgan Atrides Sterling, Responsibility for Learning. Emma Kittleson, Responsibility for Learning and the Commitment Prize for French and the Attainment Prize for GCSE PE. Jada Davis, Responsibility for Learning and the Business Prize for Commitment. Jody Curtis, Responsibility for Learning and the Art Prize for Commitment. Christy Sanchez, Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honors, the Chemistry and Economics Prizes for Attainment, the Mrs. Duncan Macbeath Prize for English Attainment, the Thatcher Trimmingham Tucker Trophy for French Attainment, the Sean James Attainment Cup for Latin Attainment, and the Bauer Cup for History Attainment. Layla Williams, Responsibility for Learning and the Mrs. Maureen Cooper Prize for Art Attainment. Malsha Amarasinghe, Responsibility for Learning, Honors, and the Commitment Prizes for Latin and English. Tanya Eve, Responsibility for Learning and the Chemistry Prize for Commitment. Saleha Stange, Responsibility for Learning, Principal's Honors, and the Attainment Prizes in Physics and Economics, the Elsie Trott Young Prize for Attainment in Mathematics, and the Ivy Sperling Cup for Music Attainment. Tana Vandenberg Tejador, Responsibility for Learning, Principal Honors, the Mathematics and History Prizes for Commitment, the Mary E. Block Prize for Biology Attainment, the Alison Masters Smith Trophy Cup for Drama Attainment, the Esther Block McFarlane Prize for Geography Attainment, Mrs. Duncan McBeath Prize for English Attainment, and the Henderson Shield for Spanish Attainment. Thomasina Pearman, Responsibility for Learning and the Commitment Prizes in Biology, Geography, and Spanish. Yves Smith, Responsibility for Learning and the Economics Prize for Commitment.
This prize is awarded to the student who gained the highest level of overall attainment in their GCSE exams, and this is awarded to Christy Sanchez. It's been a good year for Christy, and she's also awarded the Eleanor Brass Memorial Prize for Debate and the Outerbridge Trophy for Production for her outstanding production work in the school musical The Little Mermaid. We thank her for being such a role model, demonstrating reliability, willingness, and a genuine desire to learn more. Angelina is awarded the Rosemary Jones Trophy for high levels of attainment in both academics and the sports arena. Amelia Othman collects the Sports or Us Award as the Secondary Sports Person of the Year. Her commitment to competing for her country at high jump is a result of hard work, and she should be proud of what she has achieved. This commitment also is replicated in school, where she contributes extensively to inter-house activities and the school basketball team. Her enthusiasm is infectious, and she is a role model for her peers. Nisea Berkeley is presented with the Lightbourne Capstick Cup for all-round sports performance. Nisea is an excellent example of what sportsmanship looks like at BHS. She demonstrates this through her character and integrity. She is a key member of every team in which she participates: netball, basketball, athletics, softball, to name a few. The resilience and grit that she demonstrates is commendable. Nisea is a true role model to younger students and encompasses the positive culture which is being developed at BHS through sports. Yves Smith. Yves receives the Kathy Mackenzie Plate for courtesy and integrity. Yves is the embodiment of courtesy. She greets each person with a smile and speaks with grace to everyone. Yves is known for her politeness and kindness. In particular, during the lockdown, Yves' integrity was clearly evident. She was always the first on Google Meet and was cheerful and engaging during a dark time for everybody. Yves is well deserving of this recognition. This year, the King Constantine Medal is awarded to Saleha Stange and Katerina Rance. This round square medal is presented to students who have done unusual and outstanding service work and have therefore supported and promoted the ideals of the round square. These girls focused on the ideal of the environmental stewardship by initiating and coordinating the Fridays for Future marches for students from across the island. Our final award this year goes to Thomasina Pearman. Thomasina will receive the BHS Alumni Association Centenarian Award, which recognises students who exemplify our BHS philosophy. Thomasina is known for her commitment to excellence in everything she does and achieves this through being extremely reflective, taking care to identify any areas that may need growth. Thomasina reflects the BHS ideals in showing a high level of integrity in all her actions, and her commitment to serving others is demonstrated in the many hours she dedicates to community service. Congratulations, Thomasina.
Dinah Beckes is presented with the Watlington Cup for Music. This cup is awarded for achieving the highest result in the highest grade in the ABRSM exam. Grade 6 tenor saxophone with distinction. Layla Kurt is awarded with the Jeannie Masters Prize for Visual Arts for her special contribution to visual arts at BHS. Layla has not only been an asset to the IB art class, she has worked on a range of extracurricular projects in the arts alongside her academic studies. She exhibited her winning entries with the BHS Eco Runway at the Bermuda Society of Arts this year, along with leading a collaboration with Alexandra Moshe for a cast project with her peers. Layla is enthusiastically engaged in every aspect of the arts program at BHS and inspires others to collaborate with her. Leonae Morton Richardson receives the Outbridge Trophy for outstanding performance in the school production. Leonae came to every rehearsal with a smile on her face and an enthusiasm for everything that she did. She was a pleasure to work with at all times. The effort and sensitivity she put into creating the character of Prince Eric was outstanding and resulted in a very effective portrayal of the character. The Shiloh Roberts Memorial Prize. We are delighted to present this award to Acacia Mills. Shiloh was a student who embraced school life and all the opportunities that were available to her. She persevered academically and was open-minded when it came to trying new things. This award is given to the student who embodies the positive qualities of Shiloh's personality and work ethic, and also includes a monetary amount that can be used for anything within the school. Acacia embodies everything this award represents. Mirroring Shiloh's commitment to the school life, as the head of costumes for our school production of Little Mermaid, Acacia went above and beyond to achieve success. She learned what she needed to know to understand the job, worked and led her peers as a manager and a leader. She developed her design skills, working alongside a parent to develop an understanding of what was needed. Her work ethic could not be faulted. She was positive and enthusiastic in this incredibly stressful job and showed such a strong determination to succeed. The attitude demonstrated by Acacia in what is a very demanding role is demonstrated throughout her daily life at BHS. She perseveres to reach success in all that she does to the best of her ability.
This prize is awarded to the student who has gained the highest overall attainment in this year group. So the prize for IB1 goes to Miles Olasak. We teach our students to be resilient and to persevere, to reflect and to develop their bounce-back language. And that is so much of what we, as teachers and as a school, are trying to model for our students, especially in these different times. And this is certainly a year to practice our resiliency. And through reflection and flexibility to replan, we can do things differently. And I say that purposefully. It's not a time to say that we can't. It's a time to think, how can we? And I hope that you see that was our approach to our prize giving this year. You will have seen incredible resilience within your own children over the last 6 months. They went from being around everything and everyone to setting up their classrooms at home. I was so impressed with how they adapted so quickly. Some may not have liked it, but they all demonstrated the skills that are so important in our ever-changing world. They are true BHS girls, strong, adaptable and resilient, and we are proud of each and every one of them. And as the saying goes, stay calm and carry on. And that's exactly what they did.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere?
Have you ever felt like you could disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear?
Well, let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. 'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand. And oh, someone will come running. Dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found.
So let the sun come streaming in, 'cause you'll reach up and you'll rise again. If you only look around,
you will be found.
there's a place where we don't have to feel unknown. And every time that you call out, you're a little less alone.
If you only say the words from across the silence.